Hello and welcome back to the 7th episode of An Alternate Future of the World. I'm sorry that I have been really not consistent with uploading videos, but I'm bad with being consistent when I have a bunch of free time, like was the case during summer. But now that school's starting up soon, hopefully I'll be able to be more consistent. But anyways, let's get into the video. So the first thing that is going to be happening is that England will be forming a new alliance called the Nationalist Entente, or something like that. That's the name I have. I don't know. They might have like a better name for their ideology slash movement, and they'd probably call it that, but so the founding members are going to be, of course, England, but also Ethiopia, Sudan, and Djibouti. And Djibouti is joining because Ethiopia is influencing them once again. All of these countries have pretty similar systems of government slash political structure, and that is nationalistic, populistic dictators that were popular with the people. That are popular with the people, not they were and they are popular with their people. And so after a little bit, India is actually going to join. So this is pretty big for them. They are also close. Since this was more recent, that's why they weren't a founding member, because they didn't have time to England hadn't reached out to them. England had been planning this for a while. They're planning a lot of things. They're really patient. And then Tunisia will join the Democratic Defense Organization. So they have been influenced by them. And I've also heard that they are a bit more accustomed to Western ideas, and my source for that is Trust Me Bro and YouTube Shorts. So that's how you know it's accurate information. And then Algeria will be joining the Anti-Imperialist Pact in response to that. And then Peru and Bolivia will actually join the Nationalist Entente, as they also share a similar ideology. It's not the exact same, but it's also pretty nationalistic, as you can see with their expanded borders. And so West Libya will join the Democratic Defense Organization, and East Libya will join the Beijing-Moscow Association. The Libyan crisis civil conflict thing had stagnated, and then the UN and them came to an agreement to come to a permanent truce and end the war, with them being two separate countries. And so they both did that, and then now they're joining alliances. And I forgot to put the capitals. Catalonia is going to make the decision to join the Anti-Imperialist Pact. So they waited until this point because they were just worried about the threat from France and Spain if they did that. But the government that they have now is in support of it, so they will go ahead and decide to do that. And then the USA will actually move a lot of military stuff into Catalonia. And they also do that with the Basque Country. Before, they hadn't, as in a meeting, the Democratic Defense Organization requested that they didn't put that much military stuff in here. And they agreed, but they didn't formally agree to anything. So the Democratic Defense Organization is a little mad, but they didn't agree to anything, so they can't do anything. They will also begin some more military posturing all over the world and some mobilization. And so will the Beijing Moscow Association, and in response the Democratic Defense Organization and Pacific Treaty Defense Organization will do the same, and the the Democratic Defense Organization will focus in like Georgia, Azerbaijan, Syria, and Jordan, and this exclave that Ukraine has, and Estonia and Finland, as well as all over, but mainly those ones. That's where they're gonna put the most forces, and they'll obviously put their forces where they have the borders, their two borders. The Yemen civil war will finally end, or maybe it ended a while ago, but they will join the Beijing Moscow Association. The Houthis managed to unite all of Yemen, and so they have decided to join the Beijing Moscow Association. They probably would have already, but I really wasn't sure about this one. I don't know why. I mean, it probably definitely would have ended by now. It's been a while since 2026. And so the East African Federation will finally be able to fully unite all of the the member countries into one state like that, and they will put the capital in whatever the capital of Tanzania is. I don't know. I mean, yeah, the East African Federation had kept the capital there, so yeah. The other countries technically get annexed by the East African Federation, but it's a union, so they're a part of the government. And so this looks really cool. I like the way this looks. It's cool to see so few borders in this area. And after that, many other countries in a different part of the world will also unite. The EU has begun the process of federalizing, so Belarus and Kaliningrad will unite, which is interesting, but they've both been a part of Russia in modern history, so it makes sense. And Lithuania and Latvia will decide to unite. And they will keep the capital in Riga, and Luxembourg and France will decide to unite. Actually, okay, alright, there. They will also unite, or more that France will just annex Luxembourg, and also Estonia and Finland will decide to unite, and they'll put the capital in Helsinki. So, and also Czechia and Slovakia will decide to unite. The disagreements that caused them to break up initially have pretty much gone away. And also, now that the EU is federalizing, why not? As their plan is to eventually unify the entire EU, which would be pretty powerful, but they're not ready to do all that yet, so they're just unifying a few countries for now. And then an armed nationalistic militant group inside of Turkey will start a revolt/revolution, and this group is a lot stronger proportionally compared to the ones in India and Sudan, as they already have something to be mad about. So they are able to pretty much just sweep through a lot of areas and connect up their groups and almost be able to capture Ankara, but they will wait a bit before making that move. So these groups will be able to link up all of that, and these other groups will be able to expand. But then the Democratic Defense Organization will authorize a full-scale military intervention into Turkey. So these are the countries that will be fully participating in the war, but other countries in the rest of the DDO will be helping them out, sending resources and stuff. And so they're not fighting the blue group, they are just occupying land for them. They are cooperating with them as Turkey was in the Democratic Defense Organization. And so they're just pretty much occupying land that so that they can focus on other fronts. And so some groups will just fully fold over to the Democratic Defense Organization so that they can be redeployed elsewhere. And so this group is slowly trying to capture Istanbul, but they are having trouble with fighting with the Democratic Defense Organization. And as this group is pretty strong, they will be able to hold out. And so these groups will be able to link up like that, and these army groups will be fully eradicated. And Georgia will also launch an offensive. They won't just occupy land from the official government. And so there will actually be a revolt inside of Ankara, and so they, along with the help of the group that was going to capture Ankara, will be able to capture Ankara. I have said capture Ankara a lot. So Greece will launch a naval invasion into Izmir and be able to capture Izmir. I think the city and the region is called Izmir, if I'm correct. And Syria will launch a full-scale invasion, not just into that one area, which they want, and fight up with this group. But they will be able to push back as they expand their front line with them. And this group will put more and more of will move their forces over here, and they will be able to capture Istanbul, and so now they will be able to hold out and after their retreat and push back a bit more. And so this group will connect up with this group and also connect and start fighting the naval landing. And so this group will move pretty quickly through this, and then this group will also get the full support of Greece in occupying this land. And so in that process, they will be able to capture a bit more, but they are now focused on regrouping and waiting. And so they will continue to fight up and make progress against the official government, as the official government is in a lot of disarray. And so they will be able to connect up a lot of their forces. And this group will advance over here and also be able to continue to fight back against Georgia. And Azerbaijan didn't intervene, as they didn't want to. Some parts in the government didn't want to fight. They didn't want to fight against Turkey, as they have a very close friendship, and so they will be able to fully push back against this part. And then this group will push out some more. And there will also be a revolt in this city that will be able to expand. And this group will start to fight against Syria and be able to push them out basically only into this part. And the groups will be able to connect. And Greece will make a second smaller landing down here, and they'll be able to connect up these landings and make a little bit of progress on this group. But Turkey will focus on eliminating the remaining groups of the official government. And this one will eventually decide to surrender. And the Democratic Defense Organization will make another naval landing, or they'll just move troops into this. And so they will take over and occupy many of these parts. But the rest will surrender over to the nationalist government, and then they will be able to repel these forces and begin to be able to fully focus on defending against fighting the forces of the Democratic Defense Organization. And then eventually they will decide to sit down and agree on a peace treaty to end the Turkish Revolution, is what the nationalist group is calling it. And so we can take a look at that peace treaty between Turkey and the Democratic Defense Organization. And so for the peace treaty, Eastern Thrace will be partitioned by Bulgaria and Greece, and Greece will get these two exclaves, and Greece will also get all of Cyprus, and Syria will get this part that they used to control during French colonial rule for a bit there, and Georgia will just get some border territory. I did not mean to erase the border between Greece and Bulgaria there. Whoops a daisy. Let me fix that. There. So this is what Turkey is looking like at this point. And then during the war, Gujarat decided to join the Democratic Defense Organization, as their government is in line with them. And Turkey will soon after join the Nationalist Entente, as they have the same ideology. And Turkey will join the Anti-Imperialist Pact, as they are scared of Turkey and they don't want to join the Democratic Defense Organization because they're mad about the small territory they lost in the war they fought against them, and they aren't joining China's alliance, as they are more in line with the Anti-Imperialist Pact than the Beijing-Moscow Association. Recently, there were revolts in Minsk and Rostov, as well as in Pyongyang and in Taiwan. And they were pretty, they were able to crush all of these revolts, but they did find something in their headquarters of the revolt in Rostov that found clear signs of Russian support for this revolt, and even to the point of direct military support from along the border. And Russia as well, they even inside this revolt. And in Belarus, in Minsk, they didn't find as clear of signs of this, but in Pyongyang, Korea also found clear signs of Chinese support of this revolt. And so they meet together, and they both think this is absolutely unacceptable. But they think, is it really worth starting a war over this? Or should they solve the problem diplomatically? And so both alliances have a vote, and they both decide together to declare war on the Beijing-Moscow Association, starting World War III. And so fighting will ensue on the land, air, and sea. All around the world, a rival government in Vietnam will form due to some people not wanting to join the war, not wanting to fight against China in the war, and wanting to be on the side of China since they're both communist. And that's not as big of a group of people, but so they'll be kind of small for now. But yeah, the Vietnamese Civil War, or I guess kind of the second one, as that was definitely, the Vietnam War was definitely a civil war. But that is where I'm going to have to leave this one. I will see you in the next video. Remember to like, subscribe, and watch some of my other videos. And I will see you in the next one.